Hi, welcome to the channel. In this video we are looking at the OEX Phoxx 1 V1 one-person backpacking tent. The pack size is pretty compact. It weighs about 1.58 kilos according to the website, although I weighed it about 1.55 kilos. So not the lightest tent in the world, but not the heaviest either, and it does pack down pretty small. This is the original version. Comes in a few different colours. One of them is black with a red trim. It comes in a black with a blue trim. I'm not entirely sure if there's a huge difference between the V1 and the V2 versions. They might have made a few tweaks to it, but fundamentally it is the same tent. I think there might be a slightly different material on the ground sheet maybe, but as far as I can see, there's no real difference in specs. You're still looking at the same weight, the same 5,000mm high striker head and all the rest of it. So what we'll do in this video is we'll have a look around the tent in terms of how it pitches, show you the poles, show you the pegs, show you the inner, because it is an inner pitch first tent. And then yeah, we'll have a little look at the internal space and we'll give you a really quick first impressions of the tent and whether it is good for the price. In terms of pitching, it's inner pitch first. You've got two pre-bent OEX Endura aluminium poles and it's a pretty quick and easy setup. It does come with some really cheap, quite heavy steel pegs, so I'd recommend upgrading the pegs at your earliest opportunity, and that will also save a little bit of weight as well. One of the advantages of an inner pitch first tent is that you can just pitch it with just the inner, don't need the outer at all. So if you use it as a summer tent, just pitch it like this. It's quite nice and wind stable. It's very low profile anyway. Plenty of mesh to give you a really good summer's evening in the tent, and it's a little bit of wind protection just to take the edge off of it. Obviously the disadvantage with an inner pitch only tent is that you are going to have rain on the tent when you are pitching it before you can get the fly sheet on, because the fly sheet I imagine is going to need to be velcroed on at the top and then clipped on at the sides. But it's not long to pitch, and it does have a bit of solid material along the top which will keep some of the rain off, and the netting is quite thin as well, so you shouldn't get too much water ingress unless it was absolutely bucking it down. If it was going to absolutely bucket it down, perhaps you want to choose a different tent for that outing. So the tent, despite being very low, very much like a bivvy in some ways, you do have a really generous side door that does go back an awful long way, so actually ease of access is really good. But there is no getting away from the fact it is a very compact tent. So you are going to benefit from it being really sturdy in bad weather because it's so low, but you're not going to have a huge amount of space to move around in. Having said that, you've got decent height at the head end, so you can at least move around fairly comfortably, read a book, sort of lie sideways, do a little bit of cooking, that kind of stuff. It is it's certainly usable space, but yeah, it's a cross between a bivvy and a tent, I reckon, this one. One clever design feature, given how small the tent is, it's actually got a second opening on the other side. So whilst the fly sheet's only got one door, it's got a little opening here, so you can actually put some stuff inside the fly sheet on this side. That's a nice feature. That does make the tent a lot more livable. In terms of ventilation, we have got a vent at the front which you can pin open or you can Velcro close, and we've also got a small vent at the back which is pegged out by a couple of guy lines. Now what you could do is you could peg those guy lines much closer if you wanted to really close it up, or you can peg it sort of further away if you want to open up more, so you can adjust if the rain's going to start coming in, and it is starting to rain now quite heavily. So as we said earlier, it has got two openings on the inner tent, and you can see from the design of the tent you've got equal space either side, so you have got an equal size kind of outdoor porch area on this side, which is why you've got that zipped access, although it's a slightly smaller door, but you've got zipped access to this space here, so you could probably put your backpack along here, or your boots, or vice versa, so it does give an extra bit of space. Now we've got the fly sheet on, you can see that there's a decent little bit of room for some boots there, and obviously the same the other side where you've got the opening, so there's enough room for a small pack and boots on the outer of the tent, and a tiny bit of space inside the tent where your shoulders are. I think you can put a little few bits and pieces. In terms of whether this tent is good value for money, it normally retails for about 150 quid, but that is obviously OEX is a kind of go outdoors brand. You'll find it in Millets, you'll find it in Blacks, and it's one of those brands that's almost permanently discounted. So you'd be looking to pay about £100. So I think currently the cheapest you can find it online is about £99 brand new, and that's for the V2, presumably slightly improved model. So in terms of whether it's good value or not, you are getting pretty solid materials. I'll pop all the specs up throughout the video. You're getting pretty solid materials. Obviously, it's a dual skin tent, aluminium poles, decent 5,000mm hydrostatic head on the fly sheet. Doesn't say what the ground sheet is, but with the OEX tents, they're normally pretty solid as well. Certainly feels nice and robust. And yes, it's very small. Yes, it's very low, but think of that as an advantage. If you are in the market for a budget tent, then generally speaking, the taller it is, the more unstable it's going to be. If you want a tent that's pretty tall and spacious and also want it to be really robust, then you're going to have to go quite expensive to get those kind of specs, because you are going to need really good poles, really good materials, all the rest of it. So with a budget tent, you do want it to be quite low, because then, although it's not going to have the best materials, the best poles and all the rest of it, you are just going to have that ability to withhold bad weather because it's so low to the ground. It is fairly windy today. It is obviously starting to rain quite a bit. The water is beating off fine. You can see the wind just going straight over the top of it, no problems. This is a kind of tent that, although you won't enjoy the space so much if you're inside it, you are going to feel nice and secure. So trying to think of alternatives for this kind of money, there is an Old Pro tent which offers a lot more height at one end. Whether it's as robust, not sure about that. There is the Jack Wolfskin Gossamer one, but I think that's probably looking at about 150 quid for that. So you are looking at maybe, if this is £99, that is a 50% premium for that tent. You are getting DAC poles with the Jack Wolfskin tent of bits and pieces, and it's probably more robust, and it is slightly wider and slightly more spacious inside, although it might be even lower at the high end. So I think really, if you're someone walking into a high street store, into go outdoors or Blacks or Millets and stuff, and you were to pick up a Phoxx one, I think you are getting a really, really solid tent. You see a lot of people using them, this and the Phoxx 2. The Phoxx 2 is exactly the same design, it's just wider and bigger to fit two people in, but it's exactly the same principle in terms of design. Low slung, protected from the weather, a solid little tent. So this tent, could say it's halfway between a tent and a bivvy. So should you go the whole way and get a bivvy, or should you stick with a tent like this, or should you go and get a slightly bigger tent, maybe at a similar weight? So yeah, 1.58 kilos, you are going to find a lot of tents around that money, particularly if you're looking on places like AliExpress and stuff. You will find quite a few like that, but I'm not sure if they'd be quite as robust in bad weather. So again, depends what kind of conditions you want to take it out in. And for a bivvy, I think for a good one, say like the Outdoor Research Helium Bivvy, you are getting it at 1/3 of the weight. It's about 500 grams versus over 1.5 kilos. But obviously you are looking at a pretty different experience in terms of space and comfort, and being obviously a single skin, all the rest of it. So you do get a bit more space, a bit more livability with this tent. And again, you're looking at about £100 new. But what I do find with OEX gear is you can find it used a lot. The Phoxx 1, the Phoxx 2, they're on eBay all the time. You find them on Facebook and stuff. So for a Phoxx 1, you should be looking to pay between 40 and 60 quid. Now I picked this up. It's only been used once because the owner got in it once and ended up sleeping in their car because it was just too small, too claustrophobic for them. So I got this with an OEX Traverse pillow and an OEX Compact 2.5 sleep mat, which both had their price tags and labels and everything. 30 quid the lot. So if you split that in 3 ways, this tent cost me £10. So you can find really good used deals on this tent, and I think it's a really, really solid buy used. If you can get this tent for 50 quid, it will see you through, I think, some bad weather, and yeah, it should be a really reliable little tent. In terms of upgrades, I would definitely upgrade the pegs. So it doesn't cost a great deal to get yourself a decent set of tent pegs, and the good thing if you get yourself a decent set of tent pegs is if you ever change your tent, sell the tent, with the original pegs it came with, keep your good ones and then use that for whichever tent you buy. Because almost most people, even on really expensive tents, they always tend to upgrade the pegs anyway to pegs which they're comfortable with and that they trust. So it's well worth investing in some better tent pegs. You can definitely get much better tent pegs for very little on Amazon or AliExpress for this tent, and as a bonus they weigh a lot less than these little steel ones. Well, there we have it. That is a really quick look around the OEX Phoxx 1 tent. Like I said, I picked this up used for very, very little money. I'm going to take it out on a wild camp soon, hopefully, and I'm looking forward to using it. I know it's going to be quite tight for space inside, but I also know it's going to be nice and robust if we have any bad weather. So yeah, a really good little tent in my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. And yeah, hit subscribe if you want to see me take it out for a picture at some point. Thanks for watching.